At 0600 hours on October 17th, 1929, on a deserted stretch of Highland Boulevard near Huguenot Beach on Staten Island, Officer Henry A. Blanqui, age 26, found Charles Lucania, age 33, stumbling through sand with blood-stained handkerchief pressed to his face, lacerations visible on his neck, cheek, chin, back, and wrists. Because of that, the man who would reorganize the American Mafia into a national commission stopped being invisible. Because of that, newspapers across the country ran headlines about a gangster who survived what nobody was supposed to survive, and the nickname Lucky, already tattooed on his arm since age 13, became permanent. Blanqui had dropped the convertible top on his Ford patrol car because the temperature had hit 68 degrees, unseasonable for mid-October. He expected a quiet cruise. He got something else. The figure ahead was staggering, one hand to his face, the other swinging for balance. Blanqui pulled alongside. Up close, he could see the handkerchief was soaked through, blood on the collar, sand on the shoes. "What happened?" Blanqui asked. "I was taken for a ride," the man said. Blanqui scanned the area. No wrecked car. No debris. Just sand and brush and a man who looked like he had been through a thresher. The victim asked if he was in New Jersey. He offered Blanqui $50 for a cab. Blanqui said, "What you need is an ambulance." The ambulance arrived at 0615. Medical staff at Richmond Memorial Hospital stitched lacerations on the patient's back, cheek, chin, neck, and wrists. Detective Gustav Schley of Tottenville Station questioned him. The patient gave his name as Charles Lucania. He said he had been standing at the corner of 50th Street and 6th Avenue in Manhattan around 2,200 hours the previous night when a sedan pulled up. Men inside pointed guns. They taped his mouth, bound his wrists, threw him to the floor, and beat him. He kicked out a window. They beat him unconscious. He woke up on Staten Island with no idea how he got there. Schley asked who did it. Lucania said he did not know. Schley asked why. Lucania said he had no idea but would take care of it himself. Schley checked for robbery. Lucania still had a gold watch, a gold necklace, and $300 tucked into a hidden pocket sewn inside silk underwear. Lucania pulled $50 from the pocket and handed it to the attending doctor. "Here's $50, he said, "for getting your shirt all splattered with my blood." Schley took the bandaged man back to the station and called Detective Thomas Tunney in Manhattan. Tunney knew Lucania. 5 prior arrests. Known associates included Jack Legs Diamond and Thomas Fatty Walsh, shot dead in Miami in March 1929. Police had questioned Lucania about a double homicide at the Hotsy Totsy Club Speakeasy on Broadway. Diamond was charged. Lucania claimed he knew nothing. Schley booked Lucania on suspicion of automobile theft and held him for his own protection. Bail was set at $25,000. Lucania posted bail and walked out. His right eyelid drooped. Scars ran down his cheek, across his neck, and along his chin. The wounds gave him what newspapers would call a sinister appearance. At his court appearance on October 29th, 1929, Lucania told the judge he no longer used the name Lucania because people mispronounced it. He wanted to be known as Charles Luciano. The press ran with the story. Headlines said "Gangster Survives Ride." The nickname Lucky appeared in every article. Most reporters got it right that Lucky was an old nickname. A few did not. The error spread. Within a decade, books and magazine articles claimed he earned the name Lucky by surviving the ride on October 17, 1929. The myth became permanent. Charles Luciano was born Salvatore Lucania on November 24, 1897, in Lercarafritti, Sicily. His family emigrated to New York in 1906. They settled on the Lower East Side. At age 10, Salvatore ran a protection racket at his elementary school, charging Jewish kids 2 cents a day to walk home without getting beaten. One kid, Meyer Lansky, refused to pay and fought back. Luciano respected that. They became partners. At age 13, Luciano got a tattoo on his right forearm. It said Lucky. He was arrested in 1916 for possession of heroin, served 6 months. He was arrested in 1923 for narcotics trafficking. Charges dropped. He was arrested in 1926 for operating an illegal still. Charges dropped. By 1929, he was a known associate of Arnold Rothstein, the gambler and fixer who bankrolled bootlegging operations across New York. Rothstein was shot dead in November 1928. Luciano inherited part of his operation. Luciano worked for Giuseppe Joe the Boss Masuria, one of two Sicilian bosses who controlled organized crime in New York. The other was Salvatore Maranzano. They hated each other. By 1929, they were at war. The Castellammarese War, named after Maranzano's hometown in Sicily, ran from 1929 to 1931. Bodies piled up. Enforcers on both sides disappeared. Luciano was caught in the middle. On the night of October 16, 1929, Luciano stood at the corner of 50th Street and 6th Avenue in Manhattan. A woman had called him earlier, asked him to meet her. He waited. A black sedan pulled up. 3 men inside. They showed guns. Luciano got in. They taped his mouth, bound his wrists with wire, threw him to the floor. The car drove for 90 minutes. The men beat him with fists and a blunt object, possibly a pipe. They stabbed him in the back, neck, and face. Luciano kicked out the rear window. The men beat him harder. He lost consciousness. When he woke, it was still dark. He was lying in sand. The car was gone. He checked his pockets. His watch, necklace, and cash were still there. He stood and started walking. At 0600 hours, Officer Blanchi found him. Luciano told different versions of the story over the years. In 1960, he told sports columnist Oscar Fraley that the kidnappers were not mobsters. They were cops, racket squad cops. They wanted to know where Legs Diamond was hiding. Luciano refused to tell them. They beat him and dumped him on Staten Island as a warning. Luciano said, "Now I know this is no gang job. They don't put a pistol to your head and make bargains." Luciano also said that after he recovered, he put out the word he would pay them back. Another carload of men came looking for him. Luciano quickly retracted. He said, "I ain't squealing on nobody, and the incident is closed." In 1962, Officer Blanchi, now retired, gave an interview to reporter Josephine Cortez. He said he returned to the scene after taking Luciano to the hospital. He found impressions of male and female shoe prints in sand, along with wire and adhesive tape. He said police had a list of underworld suspects, many of whom ended up dead, one encased in cement. He mentioned a rumor that Luciano was friendly with a cop's daughter and was supposed to meet her that night. The truth is murky. No arrests were made. No one was charged. Luciano never filed a formal complaint. The case closed as an unsolved assault. Luciano went back to work. In April 1931, Joe the Boss Masuria was shot dead in a Coney Island restaurant. Luciano was at the table with him, but walked to the bathroom before the shooting started. For gunmen walked in and fired 20 rounds. Masuria took 5 bullets and died on the spot. Luciano walked out unharmed. In September 1931, Salvatore Maranzano was stabbed and shot to death in his office at 230 Park Avenue. 4 men dressed as police officers walked in, said it was a raid, then pulled guns and knives. Maranzano was stabbed 6 times and shot 4 times. He bled out in under 2 minutes. With both bosses dead, Luciano called a meeting. He gathered the heads of the 5 major Italian crime families in New York, plus Jewish and Irish mob leaders. He proposed a new structure. No more boss of bosses. Instead, a commission. Each family would run its own operations, but settle disputes through votes, not bullets. Profits would be higher. Bodies would be fewer. The commission voted yes. Luciano became chairman. He was 34 years old. The new structure worked. Bootlegging profits soared. Luciano controlled the docks, the unions, the speakeasies. He invested in legitimate businesses, casinos, nightclubs, restaurants. He dressed in custom suits, drove a Cadillac, kept an apartment at the Waldorf Astoria. He dated showgirls and actresses. He played cards with Al Capone in Chicago and chess with Bumpy Johnson in Harlem. He also kept a low profile. He avoided photographers. He refused interviews. He never testified in court. He paid cops, judges, politicians. He stayed out of jail. That changed in 1936. Thomas Dewey, the special prosecutor for New York, indicted Luciano on 90 counts of compulsory prostitution. Dewey claimed Luciano ran a network of brothels across Manhattan and collected $10 million a year. Luciano said it was a lie. The trial started in May 1936. Prosecutors called 68 witnesses. Most were prostitutes who testified that Luciano controlled their pimps. They said he set prices, collected fees, enforced discipline. Defense attorneys argued the women were lying to avoid jail time on narcotics charges. The jury did not believe them. On June 7, 1936, the jury convicted Luciano on 62 counts. The judge sentenced him to 30 to 50 years in prison. At age 38, Luciano went to Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora, New York, the same prison locals called Siberia because of the cold. Luciano ran his organization from inside. He used lawyers, visitors, and paid guards to pass messages. He approved hits, settled disputes, collected profits. His power never wavered. In 1942, the U.S. Navy approached Luciano with a deal. German submarines were sinking American ships off the East Coast. The Navy suspected sabotage on the docks. They needed help securing the waterfront. Luciano controlled the Longshoremen's Union. He could guarantee cooperation. Luciano agreed. In exchange, the Navy promised to consider parole. Luciano contacted Union leaders. The sabotage stopped. In 1943, the Navy asked for more help. The Allies were planning to invade Sicily. They needed intelligence on German troop positions, local contacts, safe landing zones. Luciano had family in Sicily. He made calls. The invasion succeeded. In 1946, Governor Thomas Dewey, the same man who prosecuted Luciano in 1936, commuted his sentence on condition of deportation. On February 9, 1946, Luciano boarded a ship to Italy. He was 48 years old. He never returned to the United States. Luciano settled in Naples. He lived in a penthouse apartment overlooking the Bay of Naples. He kept a low profile but stayed connected. He traveled to Havana in 1946 to attend a summit of American mob bosses. U.S. authorities found out and pressured Cuba to deport him. He returned to Italy in 1947. In the 1950s, Luciano started giving interviews. He told reporters he wanted to write his autobiography. He wanted to make a film. He entertained several propositions. Sports columnist Oscar Freire said he was writing a script. Producer Phil Tucker threw in the towel. The team who won the deal was Barnett Glassman and Martin Gosh, but no film ever materialized. Luciano told reporters the 1929 ride was carried out by racket squad cops looking for Legs Diamond. He said he never retaliated because it would have caused more problems. He said the nickname Lucky came from a childhood card game, not the ride. He said the drooping eyelid and scars made him look more dangerous than he was, which helped in business. In 1952, reporter Llewellyn Miller visited Luciano in Naples. She interviewed him at his apartment. She noted, "The famous drooping eyelid must have been fixed by a plastic surgeon because both eyes open now to the same extent." Luciano never confirmed or denied it. Luciano lived with his girlfriend, Igea Lissoni, from 1948 until her death from breast cancer in 1958. He kept a miniature pinscher named Bambi. He cooked pasta, played cards, walked the dog. He complained about Italian food, said he missed New York steaks and cheesecake. On January 26, 1962, Luciano stood at Capodichino Airport in Naples waiting for Martin Gosh. Gosh was flying in to discuss a book deal, not a film. At 1,640 hours, Luciano collapsed. A doctor pronounced him dead at 16:55. Cause of death was heart attack. He was 64 years old. His body was flown to New York. Over 2,000 people attended his funeral at Calvary Cemetery in Queens. FBI agents photographed the crowd, recording the names of every known mobster in attendance. Luciano was buried next to his parents. His estate was valued at $30,000. His lawyer said the rest of his money, estimated at several $1 million, was hidden in foreign accounts. The mythology around Luciano grew after his death. Books, films, documentary portrayed him as the architect of modern organized crime. Time magazine named him one of the 100 persons of the century in 1998. His name was compared to Pablo Escobar, John Gotti, El Chapo. His scarred face became the iconic image of the American Mafia. But the ride on October 17, 1929, remained a mystery. No one was ever charged. No one confessed. The only certainties were the injuries, the location, and the fact that Luciano survived. Officer Blanqui found shoe prints in the sand, male and female. That detail suggested the woman who called Luciano to 50th Street and 6th Avenue was at the scene on Staten Island. If true, she was part of the setup. If false, the shoe print belonged to someone else or were fabricated in later retellings. The wire and tape Blanqui said he found matched Luciano's account of being bound and gagged. But no evidence was logged. No photos were taken. The items never appeared in any official report. The rumor about the cop's daughter was never confirmed. No names were mentioned. No witnesses came forward. It remains folklore. Luciano's claim that racket squad cops kidnapped him to find Legs Diamond is plausible. Diamond was a fugitive in 1929, wanted for the Hotsy-Totsy club murders. Cops were looking for him. Luciano knew where he was. Refusing to talk would have angered them, but it is also plausible that mobsters, either working for Masuria or Maranzano, kidnapped Luciano as a warning. The Castellammarese war was heating up. Luciano was playing both sides, taking money from Masuria while planning to betray him. Maranzano's men could have grabbed him to test his loyalty. Masuria's men could have grabbed him to punish perceived disloyalty. The third possibility is that Luciano staged it. He wanted the publicity. He wanted the scars. He wanted the nickname Lucky to stick. Faking a kidnapping, cutting his own face, and stumbling onto Highland Boulevard at dawn would have been a calculated move to build his reputation. The evidence does not support this. The injuries were real. The hospital records confirmed deep lacerations, significant blood loss. Self-inflicted wounds to that degree would have required help, leaving witnesses. No witnesses ever surfaced. The most likely scenario is that racket squad cops grabbed Luciano, beat him, and dumped him as a warning. They wanted information on Legs Diamond. Luciano refused. They hurt him enough to scare him, but not enough to kill him. Killing a mob figure connected to Rothstein's network would have brought heat they did not want. Luciano survived because the attackers miscalculated. They assumed the injuries and the message would be enough. They were wrong. Luciano absorbed the damage, kept quiet, and moved forward. The scars became part of his brand. The drooping eyelid made him recognizable. The nickname Lucky became permanent. In the years after 1929, Luciano used the story selectively. He told it to reporters when it served him. He embellished details, changed timelines, omitted names. He never let the truth get in the way of a useful narrative. The ride on October 17, 1929, was not the most violent thing that happened to Luciano. It was not the most important event in his life, but it was the moment he stopped being invisible. Before that night, he was one of many mid-level mobsters operating in New York. After that night, he was Lucky Luciano, the man who survived a ride, the man with the scarred face and drooping eye, the man who would reorganize the mafia. The accounting is straightforward. Luciano served 10 years on prostitution charges, deported in 1946. He lived in exile in Italy for 16 years. He died of a heart attack at age 64. He never returned to the United States. He never faced additional charges. He died wealthy, connected, and largely untouchable. Joe the Boss Masuria, shot dead April 15, 1931, Coney Island. 5 bullets. Luciano was present but walked away. Salvatore Maranzano, stabbed and shot September 10, 1931, Park Avenue office. 6 stab wounds for gunshots. Bled out in 2 minutes. Jack Legs Diamond, shot dead December 18, 1931, Albany boarding house. 3 bullets to the head. No arrests. Thomas Fatty Walsh, shot dead March 8, 1929, Miami. 2 bullets to the chest. No arrests. Arnold Rothstein, shot November 4, 1928, Park Central Hotel. 1 bullet to the abdomen. Died 2 days later. No arrests. Meyer Lansky died January 15th, 1983, Miami Beach, age 80. Natural causes. Never served significant prison time. Frank Costello died February 18th, 1973, New York, age 82. Natural causes. Served 11 months on contempt charges. Vito Genovese died February 14th, 1969, federal prison, Springfield, Missouri, age 71. Serving 15 years on narcotics charges. Bugsy Siegel shot dead June 20th, 1947, Beverly Hills. 9 bullets through the window. No arrests. Al Capone died January 25th, 1947, Miami, age 48. Syphilis complications. Served 7 years on tax evasion. The men who kidnapped Luciano on October 16th, 1929, were never identified. They left no evidence, no witnesses, no trail. If they were cops, they kept their jobs. If they were mobsters, they disappeared into the churn of the Castellammarese War. Either way, they failed. Luciano lived another 33 years. He reorganized a mafia, built a criminal empire, survived prison, lived in exile, and died of natural causes in an airport waiting for a writer. The ride on Staten Island did not stop him. It made him. The drooping eyelid became his trademark. The scars became his resume. The nickname Lucky became his identity. And the story, half true and half myth, became the origin point for one of the most powerful mobsters in American history. Officer Henry A. Blanqui found him at 0600 hours on October 17th, 1929, stumbling through sand with blood on his face. By the time Blanqui pulled up, Luciano had already decided how the story would end. Not with his death on a beach, with his name in every newspaper, his face on every wanted poster, his empire spanning continents. The ride was supposed to kill him. Instead, it made him famous. That is the only certainty. The rest is sand, blood, and a man who understood that survival is the only metric that matters.